Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. Bipartisan criminal justice reform bill has just been passed by the Senate. We're gonna have to wait to find out what happens with the House, but this is big news, I guess, because the Republicans and the Democrats in the Senate don't generally get together on much. This passed 87 to 12, so that's one of the most bipartisan things outside of post office naming ceremonies. And so they were actually able to do that with all the Democrats voting for it and a significant number of Republicans voting for it as well. Donald Trump has been championing this for some time. I can't provide evidence to you that he knows what's in it, but he does want to appear tough on crime. And so this is how he's labeling that, this is evidence that I'm tough on crime. So first of all, before we get into the individual components of it, because there's several things that are, I think, interesting, perfectly good reforms. When you saw this news, and there had been discussion leading up to it, how did you greet this news?
Well, of course, as you mentioned, we were talking about what's in it and exactly who was against it also and reasons why. Because as soon as I was reading through it, the first thing I thought was, okay, there's 12 votes against it. And I was assuming they were all Republican votes. I was correct. And then after that, finding out who those folks were and who the leading voices in opposition were. Tom Cotton was definitely one of them, and Kennedy was another. And to find out where the problems were. They wanted more transparency in what's gonna be shown to people once some of these convicted folks come back out. And I think it could, maybe we'll get deeper into it once you get more into it, but those types of concerns can be fleshed out if we have a larger discussion about why people are incarcerated at the rate that they are and which people are, and how you can minimize that if that's what we're looking for, instead of just saying, hey, we need to stop with the way that we discriminatory policies and getting people in prison, or even how long people are serving. Maybe we can try and get fewer people in prison in the first place.
In the first place, yeah, and hopefully that'll be paired with this. So we're gonna break down some of the components of what has actually changed in this bill, and then I'm gonna talk about a couple of issues with it, because there are a few. The first, though, the bill will make retroactive the reforms enacted by the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010, which reduced the disparity between crack cocaine and powder cocaine sentences at the federal level. So, applying that to more people previously. This is still something that 2018 we have to be working on, because we evolve so slowly on these issues. Some bigger changes: it would expand the safety valve that judges can use to avoid handing down mandatory minimum sentences. It would erase a 3 strikes rule, so people with 3 or more convictions, including for drug offenses, automatically get 25 years instead of life, among other charges. It would restrict the current practice of stacking gun charges against drug offenders to add possibly decades to prison sentences. So I guess this is justice, because now, I mean, if you get hit by this 3 strikes thing, you're only going for 25 years, possibly. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a huge quantity of people, but it's a significant number. That the charges are minor issues. Okay, well now you won't be going for life. That's good. 25 years to me still sounds like life. It sounds like forever, and so I guess this is an improvement, but those policies are so fundamentally flawed that like reform around the edges seems like almost nothing.
When a lot of people's job, and a lot of times it's prosecutors, or starting from like the law enforcement and prosecutors who charge folks with crimes, before a lot of people get to 3 strikes, if someone's job is to put people in prison, and there's benefit from doing that because you have prestige, you're tough on crime, you're this bad guy who's ready to go after all the bad guys. So then when that's your approach to your job, if someone's on their 2nd strike, you think, let's just go ahead and let's slap another one, because we gotta hurry up and get to these 3 strikes. The fact that the 3 strikes still exists is a thing, and then people are motivated by that rule.
Yeah, and who is getting hit by the 3 strikes thing and who is not? What sorts of crimes? You understand, obviously, the history of it, and just philosophically, I understand why conservatives like this sort of thing and have liked it for a long time. They think, me and people like me, we don't commit crimes, we certainly don't commit multiple crimes, but there are some people that are they're getting away with murder, and so let's just wrap them up, because again, it sort of requires what we've talked about before, a very weird form of empathy, or I would say the lack thereof. And these people, they probably just belong in prison. Should we really look into the individual circumstances around each of their crimes? No, they're bad people. They're rotten to the core. Just send them to jail. Send them forever, honestly. like philosophically, does that actually fit in with anyone's conception of how justice should work, how prison terms should work?
It's what we've accepted. And I know people who don't fit the bill of the three-strike person that you think is the dangerous one who's a detriment to society. I know they've committed they've broken 3 laws. I know they have because I've seen they've never been caught for it. So is it a matter of no one else has ever done these 3 things, broken the law 3 different times? Or is it just a certain kind of person that we're targeting? It goes to the whole thing of it. And let's make sure we keep it all real. Bill Clinton was in office and implemented the 3-strike rule. So let's, just to fully have the full disclosure of what happened.
It's one of the big things we have an issue with.
Exactly, yeah. So it's not like this was everyone tries to be tougher on crime, and even Democrats in implementing things like this. Bill Clinton did it.
Yeah. Okay, a couple other things. The bill would increase good time credits that inmates can earn. Inmates who avoid a disciplinary record can currently get credits of up to 47 days per year incarcerated. The bill increases the cap to 54, allowing well-behaved inmates to cut their prison sentences by an additional week for each year they're incarcerated. That is something. It seems pretty minor. Although if I were in there, I would want to get out a week early.
I mean, because there's always sentences and then how long you actually serve.
So look, that's fine. I'll take it. The bill would allow inmates to get earned time credits by participating in more vocational and rehabilitative programs. Those credits would allow them to be released early to halfway houses or home confinement. Okay, that's good. Look. We have liberals, conservatives, very different ideas of what the purpose of a prison actually is. Right. Many people don't care if these people are rehabilitated. They just want them away. Not even just away from them specifically. Do not be near my house or my job. That's what I want. I don't care if you're staring at a blank wall for 20 years in there. Whereas a lot of countries around the world have actual rehabilitation, they have lower recidivism rates. That should be the goal, I think, of a criminal justice system, of a prison system.
Yeah, this part
not everyone agrees.
I do like that. There has to be increased number, and there's always been programs, but they have to be more increased and more readily available and accessible, and honestly, like appealing to folks. This is what you need to do to set yourself up once you get out of here, and find out what their problems were previously got them in there in the first place.
Now, really fast on some of the problems. Look, some of these changes are good. They would retroactively affect a couple of thousand people. They could theoretically affect more people in the future. There's been a lot of hard right rhetoric against this bill saying it's gonna release tons of people from prison. Well, I looked it up, 1,700 people are released from prison every single day already. Our country is not completely falling apart. The big issue with this is, first of all, that these are not gigantic reforms. Added onto that, if you're gonna finally do something about the criminal justice system and you kind of half-ass it, then are you gonna return to it in a year? Probably not. Mission accomplished. We already did it. We didn't do much, sure, but we did it. We get to say that we changed everything that needs to be changed. The biggest issue though is who will actually be affected by this, because this affects the federal system, which has 181,000 imprisoned people in it. Unfortunately, there are over 2 million people imprisoned in this country, the vast majority of which are in state prison systems, which will not be affected by this bill. And if we could bring up this final chart, you're gonna see the growth of state imprisonment. Look, federal prison populations have gone up over time, that's true. And understand this data is at least 8 years out of date, but it's the local jails and the state prisons that have shot up so much. So reform at the federal system is great, but we need to see that trickle down, I guess, to the states as well, hopefully in a stronger form, for it to actually affect the significant bulk of Americans in prison.
Things like that change, our mindset and our approach to jail and prison time has to change as a society.
That wouldn't hurt as well. Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.